The Imperial throne room was a blaze of chaos as alarms blared and holographic displays flashed red warnings. Emperor Tarek stood tall, his voice commanding despite the turmoil around him. "Ambassador Drake, if you don't save us now, the galaxy's most powerful empire will fall by sunrise. We need humanity's help, and we need it now." Nathan Drake sat in the dimly lit meeting room of Earth's UN headquarters, the weight of the moment pressing on his shoulders. The room buzzed with tension as representatives from various nations debated the implications of assisting the Empire. Holo screens projected images of the ravaged outer colonies, showing the devastation caused by the swarm. "The swarm is unlike anything we've faced," Nathan began, addressing the assembly. "Their adaptability and relentless attacks have overwhelmed the Empire's defenses. If we don't act, they'll consume everything in their path, including Earth." General Lin, a stern-faced veteran, leaned forward. "Why should we risk our resources and lives for an empire that has historically looked down on us?" "Because, General," Nathan replied, his voice steady, "their fall would destabilize the entire galaxy. We need allies, not enemies. And right now, they need us." After hours of heated debate, the UN voted in favor of sending a diplomatic and military mission to assist the Empire. Nathan, with his dual expertise in diplomacy and military strategy, was appointed to lead the mission. As he prepared to leave, he felt a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. The stakes had never been higher. Upon arriving at the Imperial throne world, Nathan was struck by the sheer scale of the devastation. Buildings lay in ruins, and the skies were thick with smoke from ongoing battles. He was greeted by Emperor Tarek and Commander Arya Valen, whose eyes were filled with a mix of desperation and skepticism. "Welcome, Ambassador Drake," Tarek said, extending his hand. "We appreciate your swift response." Nathan shook his hand firmly. "We're here to help, Your Majesty, but we'll need full cooperation and access to your resources to make this work." Arya Valen, a tall, imposing figure with piercing eyes, crossed her arms. "We've been defending our worlds for centuries. What makes you think your strategies will be any more effective?" Nathan met her gaze evenly. "Because we've faced adaptive threats before and survived. Our tactics are unconventional, but they work. Let's focus on combining our strengths instead of questioning each other." Tarek nodded. "Very well. Let's show you the situation." As they toured the throne world, Nathan observed the crumbling defenses and the exhausted soldiers. He knew that time was of the essence. They needed to act quickly to fortify the defenses and prepare for the next wave of attacks. In a war room filled with maps and tactical displays, Nathan laid out his plan. "We need to shore up your outer defenses and establish fallback positions. Our technology can detect and predict the swarm's movements more accurately. With coordinated efforts, we can turn the tide." Skepticism lingered in the air, but the dire situation left little room for debate. Arya assigned her best officers to work with Nathan's team, and preparations began immediately. The initial cultural clashes were palpable, with Imperial officers questioning every move the humans made. As night fell, Nathan and his team worked tirelessly, setting up advanced detection grids and fortifying key positions. The next morning, the first joint operation commenced. Nathan's strategies faced resistance at first, but as the battle progressed, the efficacy of human ingenuity became evident. Sergeant Miguel Ramirez, leading a squad of elite Marines, executed a daring maneuver that turned the tide of the battle. "Stay low and keep moving," he barked, directing his troops with precision. The Imperial soldiers, initially hesitant, soon adapted to the new tactics. By the end of the day, they had managed to push back the swarm, securing a temporary victory. In the aftermath, Nathan gathered with Tarek and Arya to assess the situation. "Your methods are unorthodox, but they seem to work," Arya admitted, a hint of respect in her voice. Nathan nodded. "We need to stay ahead of the swarm's adaptations. This was just the beginning. Over the next few days, Nathan and Arya began to develop a mutual respect, recognizing the strengths each side brought to the table. Ramirez, however, clashed repeatedly with Arya over strategic differences, each argument revealing deeper personal stakes. One evening, as Nathan reviewed tactical data, he stumbled upon a critical flaw in the Empire's defenses. The swarm had found a way to bypass certain security protocols, making them vulnerable to a surprise attack. "We need to address this immediately," Nathan said, calling an urgent meeting. "If the swarm exploits this, we could lose everything." The room fell silent as they realized the gravity of the situation. Arya, usually composed, looked visibly shaken. "What do you propose?" Nathan outlined a revised defense strategy, incorporating both human and Imperial technologies to close the security gap. The plan was risky, but necessary. With unanimous agreement, they set to work, racing against time to implement the new measures. As dawn approached, Nathan felt a glimmer of hope. The alliance was fragile, but it was holding. The combined efforts of humans and the Empire had created a fighting chance against the swarm. Just as they began to feel a glimmer of hope, a sudden, unexpected counterattack by the swarm forces Nathan and his team to rethink their strategies immediately. "Commander Valen, if we don't adapt fast, we'll be nothing but history," Nathan Drake said, staring intently at the holographic map of their next target. The flickering light from the map cast a tense glow over the war room, where humans and Imperial officers sat side by side, their differences more apparent than ever. Nathan's first task upon arrival was to address the critical weakness he'd discovered in the Empire's defenses. "Your energy shields are impressive, but they have a blind spot," he explained to the Imperial Council. "We need to reinforce those weak points with our adaptive countermeasures." The council members exchanged skeptical glances. "Human technology is primitive compared to ours," one of the elder statesmen remarked, his tone dripping with disdain. "Primitive or not, it works," Nathan shot back. "We've faced adaptive threats before. Trust me, our countermeasures will hold." After a heated debate, Emperor Tarek finally intervened. "Enough? We called them for help. Let's at least give their methods a chance." His authoritative tone silenced the murmurs, and Nathan was granted permission to proceed. The following day, preparations for the joint operation began in earnest. The target was a strategic outpost, recently overrun by the swarm. Reinforcements from Earth arrived, led by Sergeant Miguel Ramirez, a no-nonsense Marine known for his tactical brilliance and fierce loyalty. As Nathan and Ramirez briefed the combined force, the tension in the air was palpable. "Our goal is simple," Nathan stated. "Retake the outpost, fortify it, and use it as a forward base to push back the swarm." Commander Valen, standing beside him, couldn't hide her skepticism. "Your strategies are unconventional. Are you sure they will work against the swarm's adaptability?" Ramirez stepped forward, his gaze unwavering. "We've faced worse and come out on top. Stick to the plan, and we'll show you how it's done." The operation commenced at dawn. The outpost, a once thriving hub of activity, now lay in ruins, overrun by the swarm. As the joint force advanced, the initial resistance was fierce. The swarm's creatures, with their chitinous armor and relentless ferocity, posed a formidable challenge. Nathan's strategies came into play as human soldiers deployed adaptive drones designed to counter the swarm's movements. These drones emitted frequencies that disrupted the swarm's coordination, creating openings for the Imperial soldiers to strike. Ramirez led the charge, his tactical commands precise and effective. "Focus fire on the larger ones. Drones, move to Sector 4. His voice cut through the chaos, guiding the troops with practiced ease. Despite the initial skepticism, the combined efforts began to show results. The swarm's assault wavered, and the joint force pushed forward, reclaiming ground inch by hard-fought inch. As the battle drew to a close, Nathan and Valen surveyed the aftermath. The outpost, though battered, was back under their control. The soldiers, both human and Imperial, worked together to fortify their position and tend to the wounded. Valen approached Nathan, her expression thoughtful. "Your tactics. They were effective. Perhaps there is more to your technology than we initially thought." Nathan smiled, a hint of relief in his eyes. "It's all about adaptation. We've learned to survive by being flexible, by thinking outside the box." Nearby, Ramirez and Valen's second-in-command, Lieutenant Soren, engaged in a heated discussion. "Your men fight well, but their coordination is lacking," Ramirez said bluntly. Soren bristled. "And your drones? They almost cost us the mission when they malfunctioned." "That's because you didn't follow the protocol we set," Ramirez retorted. "You have to trust the process." Their argument was intense, but it underscored a growing understanding. Despite their differences, they shared a common goal and were learning to bridge their gaps through necessity. As the sun set on the outpost, Nathan gathered the leaders for a debrief. "Today was a step forward," he began, "but we can't afford to be complacent. The swarm will adapt, and we need to stay ahead of them." Valen nodded. "Agreed. We need to integrate your technology with our defenses more thoroughly. What do you suggest?" Nathan outlined a plan to enhance their fortifications with Earth's adaptive tech while leveraging the Empire's superior energy resources. "It's a blend of our strengths. If we work together, we can make this outpost a stronghold." Just as they began implementing their plans, a sudden alert blared through the command center. A cryptic message flashed on the main screen. "They've adapted again. Prepare for an immediate counterattack." Nathan's heart sank. The swarm was relentless, and their adaptability seemed endless. He turned to Valen, determination etched on his face. "We need to be ready. This is far from over." Valen met his gaze with a steely resolve. "Then let's show them what we're capable of." "They've adapted again," Nathan whispered, his frustration barely contained as he scrutinized the latest data. The holographic display in the command center flickered, showing the swarm's new formations and strategies. The room was tense, filled with the murmurs of officers and strategists from both the Empire and Earth's forces. Commander Arya Valen stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the display. "We need to rethink our approach. They're evolving faster than anticipated." Sergeant Miguel Ramirez, arms crossed, glanced at Nathan. "We knew they were smart, but this is on another level. We can't keep reacting. We need to get ahead of them." Nathan nodded, feeling the weight of their predicament. "Agreed. We need a breakthrough, something they won't expect." The team had barely recovered from the last encounter, yet the swarm's relentless adaptations left them no time to rest. Nathan could see the strain on everyone's faces, but there was no room for doubt now. They had to push through. Later, in the quiet confines of the strategy room, Nathan and Ramirez pored over historical data, hoping to find a clue to exploit the swarm's weakness. The room was dimly lit, the only light coming from the floating holograms. Ramirez broke the silence. "You think there's something in these old logs that we've missed? We've been through them a dozen times." Nathan leaned back, rubbing his temples. "There's always something, a detail overlooked. The swarm's tactics are familiar, almost like they're mimicking ancient war strategies." Ramirez raised an eyebrow. "Ancient strategies? You mean Earth's old war records?" Nathan nodded. "Yes, but not just any. There's a pattern here that reminds me of guerrilla warfare techniques used centuries ago. If we can predict their next move based on that." Before he could finish, Arya entered, carrying a small, ancient-looking device. "I think I might have found something that can help," she announced, placing it on the table. Nathan and Ramirez exchanged glances. "What is it?" Nathan asked. "An old piece of Imperial technology," Arya explained. "It's a tactical analyzer, designed to predict enemy movements based on past behaviors. It was abandoned because it required too much computational power at the time. But with your help, We might just be able to get it working. Nathan's eyes lit up. This could be the edge we need. The following hours were a blur of activity. Engineers and technicians from both forces worked tirelessly to integrate the analyzer with their systems. Nathan coordinated with Earth's AI specialists, while Arya directed the Empire's tech teams. The room buzzed with urgency and determination. As the device began to hum with life, Nathan felt a glimmer of hope. The tactical analyzer processed vast amounts of data, comparing the swarm's strategies with historical records from both Earth and the Empire. "Anything?" Ramirez asked, his voice tense. Nathan watched as patterns emerged on the screen. "Yes, look at this. The swarm's movements mirror ancient guerrilla tactics almost perfectly. They're trying to bait us into overextending." Arya frowned. "So, they're leading us into a trap." Nathan nodded. "Exactly. But now that we know their game, we can turn it against them." The next day, a joint planning session was held. Holographic maps and battle plans filled the room, creating a complex web of strategies. Nathan took the lead, outlining a plan to counter the swarm's tactics. "We'll set our own trap," he explained. "We'll appear to fall for their bait, but instead, we'll encircle them and cut off their retreat." Ramirez added, "We'll use rapid deployment units to strike at key points, confusing their forces and breaking their lines." Arya listened carefully, then nodded. "It's risky, but it could work. We need to be precise. There's no room for error." As they finalized the details, Nathan felt a sense of unity among the team. The initial skepticism and cultural clashes seemed to fade, replaced by a shared determination to succeed. Preparations for the final assault were intense. Soldiers and pilots from both sides geared up, readying themselves for the upcoming battle. Nathan took a moment to address the troops, his voice steady and inspiring. "We've faced countless challenges, but today, we fight together as one. Trust in each other, trust in our plan, and we will prevail." As he spoke, he saw the resolve in their eyes. They were ready. As the battle commenced, the joint forces moved with precision and coordination. The swarm, expecting an easy victory, was caught off guard by the sudden shift in tactics. Nathan and Ramirez directed their units, striking at critical points and disrupting the swarm's formations. The tactical analyzer proved invaluable, predicting the swarm's moves and allowing the forces to stay one step ahead. The battle raged on, intense and chaotic, but slowly, the tide began to turn. Arya led a daring assault on the swarm's command center, breaking their coordination and leaving them vulnerable. With their forces in disarray, the swarm retreated, and the joint forces pressed their advantage. As the dust settled, Nathan looked around at the weary but triumphant faces of his comrades. They had done it. The swarm was pushed back, their plans foiled. Arya approached, a rare smile on her face. "We did it, Nathan. Together." Nathan nodded, feeling a surge of pride and relief. "Yes, we did." Just then, a communication came through, a cryptic message that sent a chill down Nathan's spine. "Trust no one, Nathan. The swarm is closer than you think." He exchanged a worried glance with Ramirez and Arya. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. As they absorbed the message, Nathan knew their challenges were only beginning. The swarm had another card to play, and they had to be ready. Nathan's heart pounded as he reread the cryptic message. "Trust no one, Nathan. The swarm is closer than you think." The warning echoed in his mind, casting a shadow over their impending battle. He knew he had to act swiftly. "Sergeant Ramirez, we have a problem," Nathan said, showing him the message. Ramirez's eyes narrowed. "We need to find the traitor, and fast." They gathered their trusted team in a secured room. Commander Valen stood across from Nathan, her expression stern yet concerned. "We have a mole," Nathan announced. "Someone here is feeding the swarm information." The room fell silent. Tensions were high, but Nathan's resolve was unwavering. We can't let this compromise our mission. We proceed with the battle, but we remain vigilant. As preparations for the final assault intensified, Nathan's mind raced. The plan was audacious but necessary. They would lure the swarm into a trap, exploiting the vulnerability they had discovered. The battlefield was a desolate landscape, scarred by previous conflicts. As the combined forces of humans and the Empire moved into position, the air was thick with anticipation. Nathan and Valen coordinated their units, ensuring every detail was meticulously planned. "Commander Valen, take your squad to the eastern ridge," Nathan directed. "We'll cover the western flank." Valen nodded, her respect for Nathan evident despite their earlier tensions. "We'll be ready." The swarm descended with a ferocity Nathan had expected but hoped to never witness again. Their adaptability was terrifying, but this time, humanity was prepared. Nathan's innovative strategies, coupled with the Empire's formidable firepower, began to turn the tide. As the battle raged, Nathan's eyes scanned the battlefield, searching for any signs of betrayal. Suddenly, a burst of gunfire erupted from within their ranks. Nathan's heart sank as he saw one of their own, a lieutenant, attacking his comrades. "Stop him!" Nathan shouted, rushing towards the traitor. Ramirez was already on it, tackling the lieutenant to the ground. "Why?" Ramirez demanded, anger and betrayal in his voice. "The swarm promised me power," the lieutenant spat. "I was just a pawn to them, but they made me believe." Nathan shook his head. "You've jeopardized everything for a lie." With the traitor subdued, Nathan refocused on the battle. The momentary distraction had cost them, but they couldn't afford to falter. He rallied his troops, pushing forward with renewed determination. "Hold the line." Nathan's voice cut through the chaos. "For Earth and the Empire." The combined forces surged, driven by a shared resolve. Nathan's strategy began to pay off as the swarm, drawn into their trap, found themselves outmaneuvered. The tide of battle shifted, the enemy's relentless advance, halted by the unyielding Human-Empire alliance. Commander Valen's voice crackled over the comms. "Nathan, we have them on the run. Your plan is working." Relief washed over him, but the battle was far from over. "Press the advantage. Don't let them regroup." Ramirez's unit spearheaded the assault, his Marines displaying unparalleled bravery and tactical prowess. As the swarm began to retreat, Nathan knew this was their moment to strike a decisive blow. "Now, Ramirez, hit them with everything we've got," Nathan ordered. Explosions rocked the battlefield as humanity's advanced weaponry tore through the swarm's ranks. The enemy's forces crumbled under the relentless onslaught, their once unassailable position now a desperate retreat. In the midst of the chaos, Nathan spotted the Swarm Queen, her form towering above her minions. She was the linchpin of their command structure, and her downfall would seal their victory. "Valen, focus fire on the Queen," Nathan directed. The combined firepower of humans and the Empire converged on the Swarm Queen. Her defiant roar echoed across the battlefield as she attempted to rally her forces, but the relentless assault was too much. With a final, shattering explosion, the Swarm Queen fell. A cheer rose from the Allied forces, their victory now assured. Nathan allowed himself a moment of triumph, but he knew the cost had been high. The battlefield quieted, the once fierce enemy, now in full retreat. Nathan gathered with Ramirez and Valen, their expressions a mix of relief and exhaustion. "We did it," Valen said, her voice filled with newfound respect. "We actually did it." Nathan nodded. "But it's not over. We need to secure this victory and ensure the swarm can't threaten us again." As they regrouped, Nathan felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The alliance between humanity and the Empire had not only survived, but thrived under immense pressure. This victory was more than just a battle won. It was the dawn of a new era of cooperation and mutual respect. Emperor Tarek addressed the combined forces, his voice resonating with pride and gratitude. "Today, We have forged a bond that transcends our differences. Together, we are stronger. Together, we have secured a future for both our peoples." Nathan looked at Ramirez and Valen, knowing this was just the beginning. There would be more challenges ahead, but they would face them together. As the sun set on the battlefield, casting a golden hue over the remnants of war, Nathan felt a sense of hope. They had faced the unimaginable and emerged victorious. And in that victory, a lasting alliance was born, promising prosperity and security for both humanity and the Empire. In the aftermath, a mysterious signal is detected, suggesting that a new, even more formidable threat is on the horizon, leaving Nathan and his allies with the daunting realization that their fight for survival has only just begun.